What's up, world? You are in tune to Marvelous Talk, and as always, we here about to talk everything in the world of Marvel. And I got my guys with me. I got that boy Big G. What's up, Big G?
What's up, Marvelous Talk? How y'all doing
And
today?
yeah, man. And always, man, we got Dame. Dame, what's popping, man? How you doing? Yeah, Dame is
I'm
ready, man.
sorry, I was muted. What I said was I got a lot of energy.
Yeah, we gonna talk about that here in just a minute. That was a real highlight, real highlight. But man, as always, we here on Marvelous Talk, and like I said, we talk everything marvelous. But before we get into it, man, we gonna definitely get into this. You guys, man, we had a movie come out. Finally, we've had a movie come out, Black Widow, and we're definitely gonna get in it and talk about it. But before we do, heavy spoilers, man, heavy spoilers. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you like and subscribe, smash the like button, rock with us. Heavy spoilers. If you have not seen the movie, please get off the stream. Just get off the stream. Get off of the stream. I'm just telling you right now because we're going to give a lot of the movie away. And definitely, if you don't want to hear it, hey, it's not for the week, so let's do it. All right, so man, overall, we are met with the movie that, and I'm going to give my take on this at the very end, but we're met with a movie on Black Widow, and this movie is very deep into how she came to be Black Widow, and definitely the things that made her who she was before we were introduced with her in Iron Man 2, was it? It was the Iron Man 2?
Yeah, that was her first appearance in MCU.
Okay. Well, we were introduced to the Iron Man 2, so this kind of picks up before then and as she's kind of moving around. But it's set in the stage of after we had Civil War. So she's on the run. Definitely, she's on the run from Agent Ross, which we'll get into that. But one thing the premise I want to go ahead and set at the very beginning in the movie, pay attention to names. There's so many references of people we know throughout comic book lore inside of this movie, and a lot of them just had appearances and they weren't really doing anything, but they were characters that we know of in the comic books, and I'm definitely going to get into that. As the movie starts, you see, here's one thing that I have to say. Comic book heads, and G will tell you if I'm right. I'm going to let G take a minute and expound on this. But if I'm thinking right, Natasha wasn't the Red Guardian's daughter. She was actually his wife. Ain't that right, Big G?
Nah, the Red Guardian really had no ties to Natasha except for the Soviet Super Soldier program. She was never a member of the team with Dark Star and Ursa Major and Red Guardian and Crimson Dynamo. She was never part of that team, but she had ties to the Soviet Union through military backdrops, which was after the Soviet Super Soldier program, which is our version of the Super Soldier program with Captain America. That's all Natasha's ties was too.
Okay, so I made you. I think you're probably right because he's the one. He's our comic book dictionary. But I think I kind of remember something like that, but maybe I'm off. But I bring that out for everybody to understand. Marvel takes liberty. They kind of rewrite what they want to write into the MCU. So therefore, if you see some stuff that as a comic book head and you're like, wait a minute. That didn't happen. Well, Marvel is taking some creative liberty there, and it's okay. It's okay. I think it works. So Alexei, who we know is the Red Guardian, and Melina, are here on this spy mission and they're raising 2 daughters. So the movie picks up with we have Natasha and Yelena playing in the backyard, and it's kind of they're formulating their relationship. What do you think about this, G, to see these 2 girls build that relationship in the very beginning?
Well, first of all, big spoiler for those that don't know, or the comic book heads, we picked up on it. Natasha Romanoff's fictitious mother, who was the spy, is an actual comic book villain called Iron Maiden, for those that don't know. And Iron Maiden was critical in building the linkage or the bridge between United States evil anti-heroes and Russian and foreign anti-heroes. Iron Maiden actually was critical also in the reformation of Hydra. So y'all that don't know, that's who her mother, that's the lady who plays the fictitious mother. The whole relationship between the 2 girls, you could really, in my opinion, you could pick up from the beginning that the one sister was buying into the concept and Natasha really wasn't buying into the concept. She sort of knew that something was wrong from the beginning, but she did have love and care and concern for her siblings, but you could tell that she just knew that there was something wrong, Also, the fact of, and I really love this part of the whole setup is they tried to tie real life events into her backdrop story. So they picked, Midwest Ohio town that they're stalling out, which lined up with a lot of the newspaper clippings, because there was an actual bus by the Federal Bureau of Investigations of 10 Soviet families that was sitting in the United States of America. There was actual spies, So I gave props to Marvel for using something that was actually happened in a fictitious setting. But like as far as the relationship between the 2 siblings, you really could tell that Natasha knew and that her sister really didn't know. She was younger, but there was a bond. There was a definitely strong bond, which there's a payoff for that at the end of the movie.
Right. And Dave, what did you think about the relationship between the 2 girls that was being established at the very beginning?
Well, I picked up on the fact that one of the things that they were trying to establish was the if you notice, the whole overarching theme of this movie is family. Mm-hmm. And that's where you kind of saw with Yelena and Natasha, even though they were playing a role, it was hard for them as little kids to separate the reality because they were forming that bond with one another, and even with the fake parents. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I think really stood out. And she still, even as a grown up, even though it was fake and even though it kind of miffed her and she had some attitude about it, she still considered them her family. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely. And Yelena never knew about it. The youngest one, she never knew. She was green. She hadn't went through any of the conditioning that Natasha had already went through. Mm-hmm. So this was a whole brand new world for Yelena, and she thought everything was like a game, and she found out later it literally wasn't. They went on the road, and then this is where you first see that Alexei is kind of strong, because he flips this big horse truck and starts running and jumps on the wing of a plane. The first thing you should have noticed about Alexei is that he was very unhappy and unsatisfied with his assignment. You could tell that right there. He was unsatisfied with his assignment. And, when she was like, when Melina was like, I don't want to go, Melina had actually bought into the family environment as well. You know what I'm saying? Because she was like, I don't want to go. So therefore, he was like, why don't you want to go? I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? It's time to get the glory back, and definitely he fights. So they go on a run, and Natasha and her sister are taken from Dreykov. Now, here's one of the things that I saw that was very interesting. As a child, Natasha was protective. She's like, nah, but this is who Natasha has been throughout her character in the MCU. You see a lot of this whole thing with Natasha. She's very protective of everybody else, and she'll ride for her team. That's just what she does. She'll put it all out there. And something that's key that I didn't know that and I got to have Big G to comment on this, man, because it's something I didn't know that I found out in the movie. So, okay, cool. And by the way, I had said on previous shows that I didn't think that I was like, I was scared. Listen, it was good. It was good. It was good. It's better than Captain Marvel. It was good. I've watched it twice, so I've only watched Captain Marvel once, if you can believe it. I've only watched.
You just don't like Captain Marvel, period.
Yeah. Captain Marvel's not good.
They on the same level, if you ask me. Well, that's just my opinion.
No.
Yeah. I say the same, because the way that they were set up as far as the movies is concerned, they're backdrop stories, but what they do is they fill in the blanks of timelines, because the premise, or the 75% or 80% of the movie took place in between Civil War and Infinity Game. But we still have about anywhere between a 6-month and a year gap. We don't know really what happened, because remember, when Cap went to the raft and got Hawkeye and Ant-Man and all them out of the raft, right? Well, he didn't get Ant-Man, but when he got Clint Barner and when he got Falcon and them out of the raft, and Natasha went with him and they hooked up, you still had a period where we don't know what happened there. But leading up to that point, you have that. Captain Marvel did the same thing. Captain Marvel gave us the backdrop of what happened, how Nick Fury became Nick Fury,
Absolutely.
and how Shield went through this big transformation, as far as the timeline.
What inspired him to come up with the whole Avenger initiative?
Hold on, G.
I agree, G. We on the same level, bro.
I'm gonna steal your Monica. I'm stealing Big G's Monica. I give it 2 thumbs down. I can't stand
just a hater. You're just a hater.
Anyway, all right, back to this movie. So they were raised by the Red Room, definitely. And now you start. They really pick up the action when she's going to get her freedom from the Dreykov.
Hey, wait, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody figured out yet why Shield was chasing them? How come the police and the FBI and all whatever else wasn't down with busting his family up, and only Shield and only Agent Ross went after them?
Super Soldier Serum.
Exactly.
Soldier Serum.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said about General Ross. If y'all notice, and she brought it up, man, they setting it up for him to be Red Hulk, dog.
Yeah.
If you notice how bad he looked, I mean, that actor didn't look like that. They made him look like that. But they're trying to physically show you that he's having some physical issues. And I think ultimately it's going to get worse, and it's going to force him to take that Super Soldier Serum, and he's going to become the Red Hulk. That's a theory that I have.
Yeah, because she told him that he was taking that's his second bypass. It looked like his second double bypass. Definitely, and I get that. But I noticed the Shield truck that came on the runway that was chasing after him. Good call out, Big G. Good call out. If I do skate by anything like that, make sure y'all stop it and we bring it up, because we want our audience to get it. And so Natasha, she's on the run from General Ross. Now, it might be just me, but General Ross, he takes some L's. He takes some L's, man. That brother loses on a consistent basis. You know what I mean?
Or does he?
I mean, you're right. You're right. He may lose the win, but he's losing. He's losing to us in the general public.
I still think he's the man behind the mirror. That's what I'm thinking. I think
he could be, but it's classic comic book. In the comic books, Ross takes. That's the whole reason why you get a Red Hulk. Red Hulk is because Ross is tired of getting beat down. He's behind a lot of little stuff that you don't see, and he's just got this sick obsession behind Bruce Banner and his ability to become this thing that's really uncontrollable and unstoppable. So this movie, to me, played just as much as a setup for Red Hulk than it is the backstory for Black Widow. But that's just me.
Love it, Big G. Great take, man. So you see her kill the daughter, blow the whole place up because she was trying to get rid of Dreykov. And then we have Yelena on a mission to obtain we found out later, which is like the cure for deprogramming all of the widows. And she actually kills a widow, and as she kills a widow, she gets deprogrammed in the process. And you could tell she was sincerely sorry for what she did. And at that moment, we don't know what happened, but we pick back up again with Natasha. and Natasha's at a safe house after she has, ditched Ross and got away at a safe house. And she has all of the, from the Budapest office, she has all of the mail, quote unquote, right? Mm-hmm. And that was where she found, she put the mail in the box that Yelena had recovered that had all of the antidote inside of it. And then she was greeted by a character on a bus. Now, first and foremost, I don't know how she survived that bomb hitting the car. I don't know how, but hey, it is what it is. We'll talk a little bit about who and what Natasha is before we end the show. But Big G, once you saw this person come out with the big steppers on, how'd you feel about that, man? You saw her come out. She hit the car with the pop out of the Jeep in the big steppers. How you felt about that?
Yeah, I mean, it really. I talked about this off camera, man. That timeline wise, in my opinion, if this movie would have came out when it was supposed to, it would have been the perfect setup. But I get Marvel why they did what they did, because it gave them an opportunity to build up this big bad character that we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that Maude is talking about right now. It's like the build up and what she's doing and why she's doing it. Are we getting the Dark Avengers? Are we getting the formation of the Thunderbolts? Are we getting the reformation of Hydra with them having super agents? Are we even possibly getting a super soldier program? Because a lot of people the Soviet super soldiers, because a lot of people don't know the U.S. agent actually went on to become one of the Soviet super soldiers. So we don't really know. But
West Coast Avengers possibility too.
Yeah, we
got
don't
White
know.
Vision and all that stuff.
Yeah, all we know is this supposed, and who I think is still a puppet too, the character that Maude is talking about. This supposed person is still, to me, not the puppet master. There's somebody real big behind all of this pulling some strings, and I ain't figured it out yet. But I know, But it was a good introduction of the character. I don't want to say this particular person's name wrong because I always mess her name up. I know she is in the comic books. I know she's Madam Hydra. I know all that other stuff. Val, yeah, because her name is like 19 symbols.
Valentina, Contessa, Allegra, whatever.
I don't want to mess up.
She got one of them old long names, but
she's Madam Hydra. She's Madam Hydra.
Dame, this fight scene on the bridge, man, what did you think? Seeing this fight scene on the bridge, did you understand that she wasn't actually trying to fight Nat? Did you understand she wasn't trying to fight Nat, or did you automatically assume that this was a battle between her and Nat?
At first, I thought it was a fight between them, but then, it became very clear that they were after that serum. But it was interesting, the fact that the way the fighting style, like they really hadn't gone into the whole thing of the mimicking aspect of Taskmaster. But when they explained that later on, it was like, that's pretty cool, because that's actually in the comic something that Taskmaster is known for, is mimicking fighting styles. But the way they did it, they made it seem like Taskmaster had just watched all of the Avengers footage. And I'm sure that wasn't hard because you could always find them on the news.
You can find them on the news.
Hey, but I'm going to say this, and this is why I stayed away from this whole Taskmaster concept. In my opinion, this is the first character that Marvel actually blew it with. Taskmaster in the comics is a male character. He's actually not a mutant. He's a mutagen, which means that he has mutant characteristics and he has the DNA of a mutant. That's why he can mimic and mock all the fighting styles and all whatever else. They made this character more about tech and how they're able to do and programming and all. And this was the first time they blew it.
But we established, and that's why I established it early. Marvel will take creative liberties to bring things in the MCU, because you got to think about it. you've said this so many a times. Comic books have endless worlds of possibilities. People die and come back and die and come back and die. It's like the Fast and the Furious. We never know who's coming back, right?
Look what they did with the Flag Smashers. Flag Smashers, an actual dude. They made it an organization. But I would say this. I think that you could probably, and this, I'm just throwing this out in the ether. It might not happen. But what if you do see that person that you mentioned inspired by this creation, and they make a real bad, evil Taskmaster?
Could be.
They could do it,
but,
you know?
But the Taskmaster, as far as the comic books is concerned, is like huge. I think I did some research to say the Taskmaster was a top 5 Avengers villain, let alone as far as appearances in the comic book, let alone individual villain against people like Black Widow, against Captain America, against Black Panther, against Hawkeye. Taskmaster's a top 5 villain. You know, so to me, they watered it down and made it centric to Natasha Romanoff, the Red Room, and the Black Widow program. And that's really not the whole. So that's why I said it's just, I'm not being negative about it, because of course I enjoyed the movie. Sure? But I'm saying that the character, I enjoyed the movie. It's Marvel. I'm gonna enjoy it. It don't matter.
Yeah.
I'm hyped.
I'm pulling your chain, G. I understand where you're coming from, and I thank you for that opinion.
I would say this too. If you've known Marvel for a long time, well, I'm talking about the MCU, they got a bad rep for having weak villains. That wasn't so to me. I mean, look what we're gonna go back to Amar's favorite movie, Captain Marvel. Look what they did with the Skrulls. They made the Skrulls the good guys. I'm like, when was Skrulls? You know, now I know there's some bad ones out there, but what they did was they did a twist on it and showed us some good ones. But in the comics, I never seen any good Skrulls, none. So, you know, they like Amar said, they take their liberty, and sometimes it's worked, but they've been known for not really having some of the very best villains when it comes to,
I think Thanos was probably one of the most solid characters that we have that was a villain. Killmonger for sure. Killmonger solid.
I would go to top 3: Thanos, Killmonger, and Loki.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's it. Everybody else, the villain role.
You forgetting about Dormammu?
Nah.
He was in the movie for 15 minutes.
Not even 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're maybe later on moving forward, but you know, even in the television series, man, we ain't really, Agatha all along. I mean, she might have cracked the top 5 just because her role. But that's saying a lot. Yeah. That's saying a lot that you had to get all the way to a TV show to get a top 5 villain. And some of these characters that, like I said,
but
Taskmaster is huge, man.
Here's what I would say about that before we move on, because we're gonna move on. Here's what I would say about that real quick, though, is that they leave themselves a lot of play to be able to create a solid villain now, right? You've learned, you're how many movies in? I think they're learning how to create a big bad. But you know, with a movie, you got 4 hours to tell a story and be triumphant.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So you can't really build up the strength of an enemy so tall that one action take them out. You know,
that's a real good point. And the bottom line is, you want your hero to shine.
Yeah,
you want, and that's the whole thing with the little kids. They not really playing as villains; they playing as the heroes. You know, so that's what at the end you want the hero to shine. But I get it; it's a valid point. But I think overall, with what they have to work with, they do an excellent job.
All right, so she goes to Budapest, collects her sister. They exchange stories, and you know they really get into it. Have a nice little fight, like it's their version of Hello. I thought that was really funny, like Bernie Mac and I forget, in the movie where they were brothers and they fought each other when they show up. That was hilarious.
Couldn't know if you could trust her. They didn't know if you could trust her now.
Definitely. And then you know, she talks to her, tells her about her vest. After, you know, the widows bust in, they get away, and they get away from Taskmaster again. The thing that was funny is she took him to the place, and this is gonna pay off later. She took her to a place and she said, "This is where me and Barton hid." Yeah. When he came to give me away, this is where me and Barton hid. You know, and she saw they played tic-tac-toe and everything. You know what I mean? It was smart what she did to kind of get all of the blood collected in one place so that way she followed the blood. That was dope. And then definitely she says we have to go somewhere. Well, she talks to her about her vest. And she was like, I knew you liked the vest. And then basically this is the same vest that Natasha has on later. Good one right there. Then they said they're going to collect their father, Alexei. Mm-hmm. And Alexei's in the pen or in a holding facility. We don't even know if he's in or not. I'm gonna tell you why, because there's a name in here that probably went over everybody's head, but it was big, right? He sat down, he's arm wrestling, he's telling how him and Captain America were adversaries and what he done did.
He's not be telling the truth. He never knew who Captain America was. Never.
No.
Captain America didn't even know who he was up at.
No, not at all. But he was thinking that they were contemporaries, right? So basically he comes and he's on wrestling power, and then of course he's high on himself. So he's like, oh, he thought he was really gonna win. He did that. And then here comes this big guy, huge. That's the thing. The first thing that caught my eyes, I was like, why is he bigger than everybody? And then he said he called him by name when he sat down. Big G, what was that name he called?
It was the Ursa Major, man. And for y'all that don't know, it was the Ursa Major. It could be. I mean, I don't know, because Marvel's playing back and forth and all whatever else. But realistically, this could have actually been the first on-air appearance of a mutant in an MCU movie, because the Ursa Major, a Major Ursa, is an actual mutant that can transform into a bear, right? And not just like no regular size bear, a double or triple size bear that has human intelligence with bear strength and animalistic strength and instincts. So that's who he actually arm wrestled and slammed. But we don't know, because you never actually seen him do any transformation or anything like that of him actually having his powers come out. But if that was the Ursa Major, ladies and gentlemen, you saw your first mutant in the MCU. And it makes sense. It makes sense because he's huge.
We're not using names. We're not using names that are irrelevant. You could have named him anything. You could have named him Yuri. You could have named him Oslov. You could have named him anything.
Yeah.
They chose Ursa.
Ursa Major.
And they chose Ursa for a reason, right? So that, in my mind, Big G, that's Ursa Major. You know what I'm saying? And they introduced us that way. And then, let's be clear about it. The dialogue after, he said, the big bear's crying. Why did he say the big bear?
Exactly.
Right.
Comic book. It's a comic book nod, man.
Exactly.
Honestly, I just don't think they're gonna use something, because we don't know that actor.
Hey, so listen to this. I got another Easter egg for y'all.
We have to, but Dane, to your point, we have to have something for him later. We have to have something later in the storyline for him in order for us to get the actor. Because when we pull an actor into the MCU, that actor's gonna be in about 5-6 films. You know what I'm saying? 4 or 5 films.
Listen to this. The first guy that he arm wrestled, that guy was actually a comic book character and a mutant named Vanguard. Vanguard has the sickle and the hammer like Thor, just the Russian symbol.
Soviet Union.
That was actually Vanguard. That guy's name was Vanguard. It wasn't the name he called him, but Vanguard's actual real name. That was Vanguard. Nikolai or Nicolo or whatever he called him, that's Vanguard. So I was like, he's sitting in prison with the Soviet super soldiers. That's who he huddled up with.
So this is my theory. It's just a theory that wasn't a prison. That was something different. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Could be.
That was something different. When we have all these super soldiers in here, it was something different. So I can believe that. So then they send him a present with a doll that he just was gonna find attractive.
Red Guardian.
It was him.
Drunk off himself, He's drunk, and then he start humming the music, and then he pushed the little thing, and it sing the song, and he couldn't resist it. And they knew he couldn't resist it. He pull a thing, he pops it, he has the in, and they tell him how to get out. Now we're going to speed through this whole process. A lot of the dialogue here is hilarious. This dude, Alexi, is funny. So
No
you
doubt.
guys out there in TV land, Marvelous Talk, everybody who listening to us, Alexi is super funny. He does a lot of things inside of this movie that's hilarious.
Made the movie. Made
yeah,
the movie without a
I
shadow
agree.
of a doubt. That
He was
character made the
definitely,
movie.
yeah, he was definitely the comic relief, man. Shout out to David Harbour. I love him.
Yeah.
That's one of my. I love Stranger Things. So he was off the chain.
Right. And then so they save him, they get him out. And well, first of all, let me go back. Her sister, when she met her the first time, she said, well, why do you always do that superhero landing where you land and throw your head back?
Of her. Yeah.
You know, so she lands on the bridge,
Over there,
throws her head back, you know, definitely. And she's like, oh my God, you're such a poser. You're such a poser. That was hilarious. But they get him in the plane. And when he gets in the plane, he's like, oh, girls, thanks for coming back for me. Thank you. And she was like, don't get it twisted. We didn't come back because we love you. We trying to find, the Red Room. And definitely at this point and at this juncture, you can see he still thinks of them as kids, though. Yeah. You can still say he thinks of them as kids because when they start depicting the fact of how they got their uterus and everything pulled out, he's like, okay, you don't have to be so nasty and so medical about it. I was laughing.
Did you peep the part of Dame? Did y'all peep the part where Lelena called him Crimson Dynamo?
Yeah,
she called him
Crimson Dynamo.
Yeah, we got Crimson Dynamo. We're gonna get to that. And you know he had to correct her, right? Because he drunk on himself. He's very drunk on himself. So, they drop out the sky because they're going to Melina's house, and they drop out the sky. And definitely they get out of the helicopter, and this is where he starts talking to him again. And he was like, well, hey, did he think about me? Did he talk about me? And she like, seriously? You ain't seen us in all these many years, and all you gonna ask us is if he thought about you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she didn't even acknowledge it, right? And he was like, man, what's the problem? What's wrong with y'all? I hooked y'all up. I gave y'all some stuff that's gonna that made y'all great. And then he goes on to tell him, you should be proud of yourself. You got all this blood on your ledger. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Your ledger is red with blood. He said, I'm so proud. So it has me laughing because I'm saying to myself, this fool is happy because his daughters is killers.
Killers.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you made me proud. You made me proud. You definitely did the family right. And then you see Melina out there training the pigs, and she during this whole time with the training of the pigs, it's definitely one of those things where you see that she is one of the main agents there, teaching or creating the science behind taking the mind of the widows away, right, and the free will of the widows. And they get there, and then you see everybody have the family dynamic, right? Here's the whole family dynamic where they sell, and this is from all of the trailers and everything we saw. Here's where you see that. But before that, here's another funny moment where Alexi squeezes in his suit. This is hilarious because he's in the bathroom struggling. He making all type of noise, and they laughing. They're like, well, let's drink. And then he comes out, he like, look at me.
It still fits.
It still fits. It's hilarious. This guy is hilarious. And then here's the moment that I think was probably the funniest moment in time. He was like, she was like, I never watched it, and so they're having the whole family dynamic, and he sits down at the table with Melina, and he tells Melina, she's like, you still look good, though. And he was like, yeah, we were like, I've been in prison for a while. I got some energy.
got a lot of energy.
Got a lot of energy. And the kids are around the table like, oh, my God.
Please. They're like,
oh,
please.
my God. Now, this whole family dynamic, we want to expound on for a couple of minutes here. Big G, what do you think about this family dynamic scene?
Well, of course, it played out as a family deal, and you seen who played what, and you actually got to see Natasha have some type of semblance and feelings for people, which is a thing we had not seen at this point. As far as if we would have watched them in chronological order, but we know eventually that the Avengers people became her family as well, or second or third family. However, I want to point something out to y'all, and I don't know if y'all picked up on this. Do you realize that the Iron Maiden's neurological program and the the serum that was given to the Red Guardian is actually the formation of the Winter Soldier? Because they messed with him neurologically to reprogram him and tie in all whatever else, and they gave him Super Soldier formula.
That's
so it's
good.
it's like the Winter Soldier is like their long lost child. You know, if we're going to talk about this being a family dynamic, the soldier's a long lost kid because her programming and that Super Soldier formula is the Winter Soldier. So I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's great. That's great, G. That was really good. I didn't even think about that, but same country, same you. That's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. Dane, what do you think about this family dynamic scene?
Oh man, it was interesting. It was interesting, and just the whole trying to be normal aspect of it, but then it kind of took a shortcut when Yelena. When she processed finally that this was not real, because remember she left, she left because it finally became very clear to her that what they had was not real. It was a facade, and that was the part that really, really got to me. Was like, man, she, you know, like you were saying at the beginning, she had made this her family, but to finally be hit with the reality that it wasn't. And so, yeah, that was pretty tough. But otherwise, a very, very funny scene with my man, the Red Guardian, with his energy.
Yeah, energy. You guys, they kept it family friendly, but that was funny. You know, and Yelena leaving, she was like, you know, the realest, the best part of my life was fake, and and to her that broke her in a lot of different ways. But it kind of encouraged her when he came in the room and tried to tell her a family story. But as always, it's all about the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian is drunk off him. So he's drinking that Loki Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Literally, he's the man, and there's nobody else. Like, I don't know if it's the Super Soldier Serum that's making these boys like, you know, I'm just the greatest thing ever to walk this planet Earth. You know, but definitely that's who he is. Funny part about this whole thing is when they showed up. When everyone showed up, right, when the Red Room showed up and Dreykov had brought everybody in, he was like getting ready to say his whole monologue because they shot him with one little dagger. And he was like, man, they thought they could. And then all of a sudden, it's like 12 of them in his chest. Mm-hmm. And he's out of here at that point. That was hilarious to me because he was getting ready to monologue. Even Yelena just rolled her eyes back in her head like, this fool. You know what I'm saying? You telling me to get down. You trying to protect me. And so after this, right? Another thing, she named the pig Alexei. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, she did.
And the biggest thing is right here. This is where I've been trying to hurry and get to so we can discuss this. And then we'll just kind of I'll leave the rest of the movies for you guys out there in Marvelous Talk Land to see. We find out that at this point, Black Widow wasn't abandoned, right? Mm-hmm. That she was genetically chosen,
correct?
Because her genetics were superior as a child, right? So they were able to create her, and she wasn't a super soldier, but her genetics were almost perfect. So that's why they were able to make her the woman that she is, right? That's why she's cold. She's not an average person that got these whole things. She's an above average person. So I thought this was a huge reveal in the movie. What do you think about this, Dane?
If you think about it, that's what they did with all the Black Widows. They showed that at the beginning because they almost were purging the ones that didn't meet the qualification. And that was like, man, that beginning scene. I don't know about y'all, but I was like, dang, these are little girls, man. Like, and they were like, you know, there was a part with Dreykov, whatever his name is, he literally said at the beginning when they were showing all the beginning credits and stuff after they got taken, he was like, "Yeah, get rid of them." He's like, "Get rid of them." I'm like, so yeah, so they did this with all the Black Widows, is they got the best of the best that they knew would fit the bill. But Tasha, I mean, it's just something special about her, man. It's almost, I reckon it, sad comparison, but kind of the same thing. I reckon it to what happened with Finn in Star Wars, because something awoke him to say, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong side. This ain't, even though they conditioned him and, taught him how to be a stormtrooper, I kind of reckon it the same way with her. It's like, even though she was conditioned and raised up to be a Black Widow, something in her said, no, this ain't right. I need to get out of this. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. And, I still say it's a lot more big bads, because now we're on the other side and you're dealing with time elements, and people go back to being able to manipulate time and play with people's destiny and all whatever else. Man, I almost look at it like how when Banner said, man, I was made for this moment, for the Infinity, for the Infinity Gauntlet. He was like, it's like I was made to be able to do the snap to bring everybody back. Well, Tasha was almost made to be the Black Widow, which a lot of people don't know. In my opinion, she was the glue to the squad. I mean, yeah. Tasha, even though she has so many issues and problems with people and abandonment issues, not knowing her past or history, everybody in the squad on the Avengers, regardless of how low or how high you was, you love Tasha. Even after the snap, everybody was down with Tasha. Tasha was the one sitting and telling the different ones, like when they was on them little screens with Rocket and Captain Marvel and War Machine, and like they was all reporting to Tasha. Tasha's the one that kept capping the game, and so Tasha's family, she's the one that reached out and had a relationship with Banner. Yeah. So it's
that's like, so good, Sean. That's good,
almost like she was made for that role.
She's been like the glue. Like if you think about it, she's touched. I mean, you look at some of the movies, you've seen her definitely with Cap. You saw her with Cap. You saw her with Clint Barton. You saw even you saw even interacting with T'Challa after his dad died. You know what I'm saying? And so she's been a cement like for the Avengers. Very much so.
She was Scarlet Witch's mentor. I mean, a lot of stuff, man. Tasha is like a main person. So to see like she was almost made for that,
I totally agree, you guys. I totally agree. Natasha is I think would be the glue for the Avengers, right? And you're gonna have to really work to replace her. You know what I mean? That's why I don't think that the Avengers work without her. So and when I say replace her, I'm talking about with the young Avengers. They're gonna have to have somebody really solid that's able to take her place for real, right?
Yeah. That end. I know we're gonna get to discuss the end or the after credits, but go ahead. I'll let you talk about it because her sister ain't the one. Let's just say that.
We gonna leave the rest of the movie for them to watch, and then before we get on the show and we actually talk about the last episode of Loki, we'll bring this whole other thing back up as well too. We'll definitely discuss the end of the movie, but we want to leave some out there for you. We ain't gonna get into the end. We're not gonna get into a lot of the reveals, but we're definitely gonna leave you here, and we're gonna give our overall opinions of the movie, just what you thought. Give me some 30 seconds, Sean. Tell me what you thought of the movie overall.
I give it a B. If I had to give it an A through F scale, I give it a B. Probably about a 4 stars. I wish they would have cracked the movie open when they, but I understand we had COVID and all whatever else, but it would have made so much sense for this to kick off phase 4. But I think they, like I said before, they hedged it between because it gave us information about what was to come and also filled in gaps to what happened. So I give it a B. It's a good movie. It was a very good movie. Action-packed for sure. Action-packed.
So, Dave, talk to me, man. What's your final grade? What do you get the movie?
I'm being a little harder than G. I'm gonna have to say 7 out of 10. It was a C. It was a good movie. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. Not one of like the best MCU movies that's ever been made. but it was good. It was soft. It passed the qualifications of being a movie. But you know, it should, like I keep saying, her story in many respects, if they were going to do an origin story on her, it should have been done right after Iron Man 2 when they introduced her. But and that was believe it or not, that was Kevin Feige's original plan. But at that time, Marvel was they didn't have complete control of Marvel Studios. They still had that Paramount stuff going on. And the leader at that time was like, he didn't even want to do a Black Panther movie. This guy.
Nope.
So I'm glad that it finally got done. But like I said, it was a good movie. No shade thrown at it. I think it was decent.
Yeah, and so I give it 7.5. I agree with Dane wholeheartedly, and you know, we'll definitely leave it at a C+. But we thank you guys for rocking with us. If you like your content that you're getting today, make sure you like and subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. Definitely do that. And also watch us live, Facebook Live. But man, as always, you know, definitely it's your boys coming for you from Marvelous Talk. We out of here. From Big Dane, Big G, and myself, we out.